Hey everybody, welcome back to Mechanic to Mechanic. We're all here today talking about diagnostics again. I know we're kind of wearing this out, but really not. It's just there's so much detail to diagnostics and how it applies to us and the customer. This could be very, very many episodes before we're done.
If we can't get diagnostics, we have nothing.
Yes,
So
right.
It deserves as much time as we can get.
Well, I mean, how many times do we bring up diagnostics to customers?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
That's the first thing. Let me get my diagnostics done. How much is this? I got to diagnose it first. You know, that word's thrown around a lot, and I'm sure people, you know, as customers, you've been annoyed before because you didn't quite know what that person was really saying. And
We say check and inspect now.
check and inspect. That's
I like
good.
that.
Good
I
terms.
like that.
And on our end, we've all this knowledge bottled up in our heads, and part of this entire show and what we're doing is to help the people who run shops learn how to unbottle that, give it to their guys. We all have tips and tricks that we use to be able to communicate that to our customers, so we are really telling them what those diagnostics are for. On that note, has anybody had any recent customers coming in, diagnostics, within the past, I'm assuming, one day?
All the time.
The biggest thing we get at the shop I'm at is we get people that believe that auto parts stores do diagnostics.
Right.
Right, yeah, that's
That's
good
not
one.
really an issue with your technicians or your advisors. That's more educating your customer.
Yeah.
So before you even get into the testing stuff, we have to have a good way to explain to our customers what proper actual diagnostics really is,
Right.
without
They think
making
the
that
scan-
customer feel like, oh, they're just trying to tell me I need
They
to
think that
spend
initial
money on
scan
something.
is the diagnostic.
Correct.
Right.
They really do.
No.
We get that all the time.
Oh yeah, they roll in, they say, hey, I just was here, this is what's wrong with my car, go ahead and fix it.
Yes, but you got to explain to them that the code is just a starting point.
Yes.
Yep.
That get us in the right area. It's a map to start on the path to find what's wrong with your car. That's how I try to. That's the best way I explain it to them. Because the code is not the answer to all things.
It's an arrow. It points in a direction of a very large group of parts that also have moving parts within themselves that could have failed, so forth and so on. That diagnostic tool helps us to
And if
narrow
you-
that down.
If you're the shop owner watching this, or you're the technician or service supervisor watching this, practice with the rest of your team, explaining, role play. You don't want to make your customer feel, for lack of a better term, dumb.
Yes.
You want to nicely and properly explain to your customers what we're actually having to do and why. Play it with your people.
That
role
is-
play it with your
yeah,
boss.
you
your
gotta practice.
technicians. Practice it until you get it down perfect.
So something we've been doing recently, so do it right is a really big thing for this show. It kind of crept up early, and we believe very strongly in that. But another term that we use at my shop is educate the customer and stick to the facts. Stick to the facts is a very big deal. A lot of times our emotions can get involved. We're not as, for customers, we don't have as much of a problem with being emotional when we're trying to explain the cars, even if you're getting there. So, always give your advisor a little time to explain, even if this is getting rough, because it's hard. It's an expensive vehicle. But when my store managers, I'm assuming yours and yours as well, dealing with customers, they're kind of fresh. Like, we're not fresh. I don't think anybody here is super fresh. We've been doing this for a minute.
Few.
Right. Okay,
It's been a little while.
when y'all get new advisors or even technicians that you allow to speak to customers, how do they react when the customer's a little emotional about the process of getting their car fixed and being explained to?
Walk away.
Walk away, run away. Hey,
Can
come
you
help me.
help me explain this? Because
Right.
sometimes if the tech say one thing and come back and say the same exact thing, and then we walk them through them step by step. This is how we get from point A to point B. You have 10 codes, all 10 of them separate.
Right.
So we
and all
gotta
10 of them in depth and unique, I'm assuming.
yes, but
Yep.
we got to start off with we're gonna have to pick one, the one that's most
You definitely know how to do this. So that's exactly right. You're basically saying I have these 10 codes, and you're trying to purvey the fact that you have the details. They come and get you, because you have details to give to the customers. That's what makes our store managers young or seasoned, is how much detail have they learned to compile into something accurate and easy for a customer to take in. So our diagnostic tools, the purpose of our diagnostic tools is to find that issue and give us the information and the advanced detail we need to make sure the customer understands. You were saying, you don't want to overwhelm the customer or make them feel stupid. What we found that really helps the customer not feel stupid is by going over it in the exact detail we do with our technicians, but changing the vocabulary.
We'll sit there and we'll explain to the customer, if they don't, you say you have a problem with turbocharger.
Right.
Give them a quick, down and dirty, simple explanation, 10, 15 seconds of a turbocharger.
Yeah, just a quick dash through
That
the
way,
information.
our customers know a little bit more information. So when we say something, and let's be honest, we were all technicians, we were service supervisors, we can over-explain stuff for days.
Yes. Get engulfed in it.
It's
Get
very
into
easy.
figuring out how much information to give your customer so that they understand what you're going to tell them.
Yeah,
It works very, very well, and it's incredibly effective. And sometimes a different service advisor may be able to get across to someone in a
might
better
have
fashion.
more vocabulary for that.
Right. And
so-
you would definitely want to use layman terms.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
You want to learn how to explain the same thing you're talking about with your technicians
Right.
in layman's terms. So, one of my store managers is behind the camera right now. He's making immense progress in that area, but he also knows how hard it is to make progress. So, for instance, we had a situation there, but Amer, my other store manager, was there. We had a lady. He was on the phone with her. He's trying to explain to her the diagnostics. The smoke test. We checked the pressures that your pumps were providing, the additional pumps, California compliant type pumps. We're providing, yeah, I know, to the system. Yeah, for performance guys, it makes us want to barf. But, anyways, so he's like, man, she's mad, man, she's so mad. And it's just a really difficult car. It had a cracked exhaust manifold, split in half, which was turning the shroud into a hot plate. And they had been running it like that for a very long time. It cooked both of the pumps that were California compliant pumps. It cooked the ECU, and because it kept feeding information into the ECU from burned out O2 sensors, which are just a two-way, a hot hold, and a resistance-based sensor. And that resistance being full on had worked its way back in the computer, burned a few sections of the computer. And then just recently they found out there's a pinhole in the line running from the two pumps into the intake manifold to boost up that air to further clean the air going through the catalytic converters.
Can you find any more problems?
Well, hold on.
And that's
Almost there.
what the customer was thinking.
That's what the customer was thinking. So he
Right.
was trying to explain that to her, and she was just so mad. She was so mad. She's a sweet lady. We love her. She's been a customer for a while. And as long as you make sense to her, she's always a great customer. And he said, she's a tough one, man. She's not a good one, man. I can't do this. And I said, hold on a minute. So I called Bill Kratz. Bill Kratz is partners with me, or I guess I'm partners with him, is a way better way to put it. And that's his choice. So we just both went down there on a day and met with her together, and we said, Amer, don't take this the wrong way. We want you to stand there and want you to watch. So we had all of our diagnostics done with the tool. We had looked at the pressures on the diagnostic tool that the charge air was creating. It was a little bit low. And we of course done the smoke test and found the leak. And we were able, Bill sat down, I sat down, he said a few words. I said a few words. The lady said, that's exactly what I needed to hear. That's what I was waiting to hear. All right, well, I guess I'm going to get back to work. She manages a large location in Winston-Salem. She said, I guess I'll see you guys later. I really appreciate your time. Got in the car and drove off.
Sometimes it's better coming from the owner than the service writer. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of that, we looked at him and said, did you see the difference in how we explained it to her? And he even pointed out that the terms we used were slightly different, slightly clearer for a customer, and he did get what we had done, and we provided the same information calmly without any emotion and stuck to the facts, but we put the facts in layman's terms.
Absolutely.
And she had a great experience and is no longer upset. It's just that easy. And I'm sure you've all had the exact same
All the
experience
time,
many,
yes.
many times.
And for any service advisors watching this podcast right now, that will come over time.
Yeah.
Watch others,
Great.
learn from others. Every one of us here, none of us claim to know everything.
Yeah, that's why you got to get different opinions
Yeah.
and approach it a different way. That
Yes.
helps all the time too.
Yeah, and to all our customers, the shops that come on this show, we stay connected. We will reference you to each other according to who needs to help you, because we want you to have a good experience with the knowledge that you need. Really, a customer shows up, they're looking for our knowledge. So something we wanted to talk about today, we kind of hinted at this before the show, we want to go over a few different types of diagnostic tests and explain the process of getting to the car in the computer, what we're looking at, And that way the customer might get a better idea of what we're actually doing, how long it actually takes. So I think a really good one is injector cycle. I know you know about injector cycle.
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming you do. You got a full-on shop, but you got to know.
First of all, people watching, there is no magical unicorn device
No.
that we can plug into your car and it tells us what's wrong.
Sensors and
I'm
computers is
sorry.
all we have.
We wish it existed because we would all have a blank check for that tool, but that does not exist.
I second that.
Well, those heat guns / screens, what are they called? You know,
Oh, the thermal
infrared-
images.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
that is
Oh, those are-
almost that is
oh, those
almost
things are
it.
so
That is so close to it. It's very close, but
Those things are so useful.
but it does also just help us go into our computer and look at the exact data we need. So shows us hot spots on your car where something is, you know, overheating, short circuiting, or having too much resistance go through the system. So, and that applies to not only electronic but mechanical. So
Yep.
mechanical.
Yep.
Let's go. So basically, what does your technician do when he's checking injector cycle on what might be a clogged injector, trying to confirm the clogged injector?
First, we can see like if the pressure is good first.
Okay.
That's how we do it. Make sure we got pressure because sometimes the pressure can show you if it's clogged or if it's sticking open. The pressure could fluctuate because it's trying to force its way through the clog.
Right. So you're getting in the computer and you're going to.
Just look at the live data on it.
There you go. Live data. We just talked about it on the last show. So yeah, see, this guy owns a shop. He definitely knows what he's doing. You go in there. We're looking at live data. We're looking at pressures, right? And what happens if what are you going to be looking for?
If it's fluctuating,
Yeah. So if it's spiking a little higher than what the average is supposed to be,
that means it's trying to force its way through.
right?
When there's too much pressure on it.
It's trying to spit something out that is not just fuel.
If you're seeing, if you've got a lab scope hooked up to it, which is a bit further than what we're probably going to want to get into right now,
Well, it's
we
still
can-
part of scan tools.
we can watch things as far as like when we can see each injector opening. We can watch those pressure spikes. If they're all even and consistent, we know, okay, I may not have an issue going on in the fashion that I'm thinking. It may still be the issue, but just not in the same fashion. But we have to watch all of that live scan tool data and know what it means and be able to compile that information correctly.
Yes.
Yep.
So
And the fuel trims too.
and the fuel trims do. So first, for the customers, we're getting the scan tool. We look at our live data. We're confirming that we have a problem in that area, and then we are connecting.
Even before we end up doing that,
Yeah.
we have to figure out what section of the vehicle is having the problem. Where do I look at? That's where we start.
So what we're cutting back out of. So first we go to the live data. We look at the pressures. We confirm this is the area in general that we know we have a problem, and that takes roughly 15-20 minutes
At
to
least.
really make sure. We got to check all of the data in that area for all the fueling segments of the system, and make sure that is exactly where that pressure's at. And then we go to our lab scope and we connect that to our scan tool. We feed it into the system, and then we start reading our graphs, right? We start reading our graphs, and our graphs tell us which one of these injectors has the most resistance for fuel, not electrical, pushing through. And also, you can actually read the amount of strain that's being put on
You
that,
can, yeah.
the cycle of the injector itself on the electronic side.
And for people that don't know out there what a lab scope is, think of if you go to the doctor, they hook up like the EKG with 8 million lines all over and all that kind of stuff to get as much data as possible. It's kind of like that for the car.
For the car. Yep.
We still have to hook into the right things, the right places,
You
the
gotta
right
pin it in.
ways, and all that
Yep.
kind of stuff. But it's not as simple as what it's believed to be in our industry.
So-
You hook up to.
We're
It takes
literally,
some time just setting up the lab scopes.
you're right. We're literally pinning into the backs of connectors to check different areas of the car. So how long does it take to pin that thing in? And it is not 30 minutes.
It just depends on access. If you
Yeah.
don't have access, you got
Yeah.
to go to the ECM.
You got to start pulling stuff or go to the ECM and back pro the ECM.
An
So,
array for intake manifolds that wrap over the top of
Oh.
the engines.
oh yeah,
Oh.
especially when you're trying to see if a coil pack is doing its job
Yes.
right. So, for the customers, that's a brief. Basically, we briefly zeroed in on one single thing that we do, and I think how long have we been talking about it right now?
15 minutes.
15,
So
yeah.
when you talk about something, you're abbreviating the whole scenario. For 15 minutes, we've been talking about it. Multiply that about by 5 or 10 times, and that's how long it takes to properly use a lab scope for only one test. So when they tell you we did 3 different tests, 4 different tests to confirm these different areas of failure, they're talking about hours of work. Now, it's not hours of picking up heavy stuff, but it's hours of the advanced knowledge, which we all want smart technicians working with us and working on our cars, being applied to the car. So our brains are tired, typically, when we do finally talk to you about what the solution is to the problem and exactly what the problem is. And we as shops and managers and directors of shops work very, very hard to convey that to you in information that you can understand. If you're ever dealing with somebody who clearly uses their tools, knows how to use them, and you don't quite understand, I doubt there's many shops out there that don't want to elaborate and clarify on what you need to know.
See, we use medical terms a lot of times, the anatomy of your body to help break it down.
Yeah,
Do the same.
That's the
so
best way to
we're
help
right
them.
by Baptist Hospital, so we tend to, we roll on the same boat there, but
Yes.
yeah, medical terms do help a lot. So I use like clogged arteries a lot, torn ligaments, muscles for control arms, ball joints, stuff.
Yeah.
You know, shoulders, hips, ball joints.
Connection from your brain to the other
Yep,
items.
and wiring for ECU connection to your brain. The car has 19 brains or 10 brains or 5 brains or 4 brains. Now
That's the nervous system.
Now we got CAN bus network system, so humans, you're right. humans have it a lot easier because we got one brain and our doctors only have to work on the one brain. So plus our tissue heals and car tissue.
We wish.
That would be nice.